Hello everyone. I thought I'd do a video on the Nikon F. I've got a few of these cameras and I've gradually been picking up the sort of different viewfinders for them, and although I own a Nikon F2 and F3, there's something really special about the Nikon F. So I thought it'd be nice to do a quick review of it and then go through some of the kind of key features and sort of its history. Okay. So this is the Nikon F here, and it was introduced in April 59, and it continued right through till 1973. You can't imagine something like that with digital cameras these days, but so it's pretty incredible. In 62 they brought in the Photonic Finders like this one here, which means that it can meter. This is one of the later versions of it, but there are sort of slightly different iterations, and they brought those in 62. And prior to that, you had meterless finders. This is an example of a meterless finder there. So you just look through, and you have to use Sunny 16 or an external light meter with that. Whereas with this, it's all built in. So it was pretty revolutionary when it came in, because it combined all the best features of sort of all the existing SLRs at the time into one camera. It's a bayonet mount. It was designed by Mr. Fukita, which is where the F comes from in Nikon F. A lot of people think it stands for film, but actually it's sort of was named in his honour. And that carried right through from, so this is kind of like, it's called the F, but it's like the F1, the F2, F3, F4, F5 and F6. And they only discontinued that when they moved over to digital, and you had the D1. It was the first SLR system to be adapted really by the general population of professional photographers. Sort of before that time, they were predominantly using rangefinders, Leicas, medium format. And this SLR came in, and it was just so good at doing combining within the one camera a lot of the good features of early SLRs like Exactas and others into this one camera, that it started to really eat into Leica's sales. People were buying SLRs instead. The period, I think, where you'd really see this change over by professionals anyway, is war photography in the Vietnam War, where Leica rangefinder cameras started to have some real competition there. If you look at pictures of Don McCullen when he was in Vietnam, he used an Nikon F, and Larry Burrows as well used both, but had Nikon F with him often. There's Dana Stone and David Hume and Al Webb all used Nikon F in Vietnam, and I think I'm pronouncing it right, Robert Houdin. Essentially those rangefinders had a more expensive focal plane shutter, and so they became less attractive when the Nikon F came along as such a capable SLR. Its kind of key design elements were a changeable prism. This comes off. You can have sort of waist level prisms like that, and obviously, as I was saying before, you can get eye level prisms as well, and the metered prisms. You can change the focusing screens. You've got a depth of field preview button here. You've got mirror lockup as well. So it's a very modular camera. Has a single stroke advanced lever on it. If you think sort of some of the rangefinder cameras at that time were double stroke. It's got a titanium foil shutter. It's got flash synchronization, and if I show you this, it's the AS1. So that slides. You see the little pin there. Comes in contact with that there. So you slide that on like that, and then you go like that, turn that, and then it's securely on, and then you can fit a flash. I actually use that when I'm shooting with a meterless finder. such as this one, but I still want to meter. If I'm not doing Sunny 16 to work it out in my head, then I can little hot shoe meter like this, code Lux L, and then I can just slot that on like that, and then I can use it with if I'm using with a meterless finder, which can be quite handy. Still keeps it quite small. So it's well made, it's reliable, it's a real workhorse of a camera. It was resilient to damage or mechanical failure, and so was used and taken to war. And as I say, is most notably famous for being used by war photographers in Vietnam. Also, Apollo 15, the Nikon F was taken into space by NASA. Some of the other key features, you've got interchangeable backs. There's motor drives that were available at the time, the F36 motor drive. If you ever see one where it doesn't say Nikon here, it says Nikkor, and you can get the chance to buy it, I would, because in Germany there was an issue with it being Nikon being too similar to Zeiss Icon. So in Germany, Nikon had to change the Nikon to Nikkor, and they're incredibly rare and worth a lot of money because there weren't many of those made. So that's a quick kind of overview really of its features. What I wanted to do was if I show you the main features, and then we'll talk a bit about batteries. So first of all, you've got the advanced rewind. Just check I'm really filming it by turning that, and it turns freely, so I know there's no film in it. Okay, so you turn the meter on by pressing this button in here on the side, and you turn it off by pressing this down here. And when I hold that down, I don't know if you can see, but the needle goes into the middle there and touches the 0. See? So that's the battery test. That tells me the battery is still giving accurate voltage if it's in the middle. But when I'm not using it anymore, I press that down, turns it off, and that turns it on. Right. Once you've put your film in, you set your correct film speed, ISO, ASA here. So if I had 200 film in, that's there. If I want to change it, I lift that up, saying drop it in there at 400. Or was that just, there we go, 400 there. You advance on like that. It's very quiet. It's got a nice, smooth and quiet shutter sound. One of the things I actually like about this camera over the F2 is the sound of when you press the shutter. It's got a sort of softer and more dampened shutter sound. But in a lot of other ways the F2 is superior. But this just has a charm all of its own. Self timer there. So wind that like that. Press that. And it will give you a chance to get away, and then it will take a photo of you. There we go. I've got on a kind of period lens from the time, 50mm f2, very sharp lens. Depth of field preview there. That's the mirror lock up there. And that's the lens release there. There's not a lot more to it really. And then if you want to remove the finder, you have to press this in, and you'll see it move, and you'll see it moves the two clamps out there. So you have to keep that pressed down whilst pushing in here. Actually, I don't think I can use icon on this one. There we go. So you have to push in keep that pushed in, as well as pressing the button on the back. And there's your interchangeable focus screen there. You see you've got the Nikon logo there. If I take the lens off, I press that in, twist the lens lens comes off, sort of gradually taking it apart, and then the back comes off. You go like that, twist it like that, and then that comes off as well like that.